using Chrome as we develop because our customers are going to be using Chrome. But also like Safari definitely has a market share. We need to check out our application that it works on there as well. Yeah, I always use Chrome, Safari, and even sometimes Firefox. Although I think, you can correct me again if I'm wrong on this, but I think Chrome and Firefox have the same guts. I think they're both like the V8 engine. I think they're almost the same meat. So there shouldn't really be too much difference there. All right.
So far, it seems the same. I tried out their Firefox developer browser, so it has all the things for the inspect and all that stuff easier than right clicking and things like that.
Oh, nice. I haven't played with it too much, but you like it so far?
Yeah, it seems to be good.
Okay. Very nice. Yeah, keep us updated if it's a vast improvement in an area. Maybe we'll switch. It's a possibility. Because Chrome has disappointed me honestly with the mobile stuff, how finicky that is. So if there was an alternative that made it more consistent,
Yeah, on this one, it actually has like its own plugin kind of thing to you know how you did the inspect and then you would go to the mobile mode. It actually has like its own separate thing.
yeah, that might be better. All right. So what are we getting into today? Yesterday we laid the foundation for interactions, right? So today we're gonna go further with that, with event listeners. And what do we mean by event listeners? Does anyone know? What are event listeners, Farhan? Or what do I mean by it in plain English?
I think he's on a phone call.
Oh, Calypso. What do I mean by event
Um,
listeners?
I think it's like buttons and stuff like that. I'm not sure 100%.
Yeah, well, button's an element that can listen for what kind of event?
Oh, like interactive, like someone does something on the page and it like
But
triggers
what
something
does a
else.
user do to a button traditionally?
Click it.
Oh, click it.
Yeah. So when we say event listeners, we're just saying the browser is now listening for certain actions from the user. So like clicking. Automatically, that's not the case. You have to tell the browser to listen for certain interactions from the user. Really, it's going to be clicking and typing things in forms, right? That's really going to be almost all the interactions, right? Can we think of other interactions that a user does? Not really on a browser, right? Maybe anyone?
I mean, kind of based on what
Zioto, I think you were first by a little bit.
you've got, like if you're doing captures and things like that. I don't know if that, like, normally that's a separate app, right? But like,
Oh,
quite often I'll have
captures.
you-
Yeah, captures isn't a browser thing. I use like snipping tool. Oh, yeah. I don't think that's really a browser action to listen for. Yeah.
Would it be using like a toggle bar though? That's still
A toggle button is you're clicking.
within a.
You're firing something interesting, but you're clicking at the end of the day. So here's one though. What am I doing now?
Scrolling.
Scrolling. Yeah, that's an action by the user. But today we're not going to have any of those. We're going to be clicking. So what's going on here, right? We're clicking, and what's changing about this box? Farhan, what do you think is changing behind the scenes about this box?
I think the background color is changing with every click.
In billings,
hold on, we have a loud. Someone got it. We had a loud hot mic. Sorry, Farhan. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think we're changing the background color every time we click.
Yeah.
Of the.
Oh, it's your mic. Sorry. Okay, I was confused.
It's the same thing that happened to me yesterday.
No. Farhan just is co-working or something. Yeah. So the CSS is changing. Although, if we want to be picky, there's a better word for what I'm trying to say than picky. But if we want to be very precise, it's not the CSS that's changing, right? It's the what, Semsi? What is actually changing?
Good question.
So we can spot it, I bet. Here, look at this. Isn't this cool?
I'm sorry.
You can see it.
Okay.
Don't.
Oh,
So
already.
the div element, yeah, the DOM.
Yes, it's the DOM that's actually changing. Our file is not changing. Our CSS file is not changing. But I think I've beaten that dead horse enough, right? So that's like a warm up. That's pretty well. It's a good warm up. And then we have what we call mirror, where the user types. That's going to be so clicking and typing is really the interactions a user does. So here I say Lin J. I type in my name, right? And I see it printed down below. So this is going to involve a lot of steps, a lot of new stuff. This is not a warm up. This is difficult. Counter, in my opinion, might actually be a little easier, but here we see two buttons and they change the display of a number. Yeah. So again, we have a click interaction. So we have an event listener tied to these buttons listening for a click, and some things, a function is firing when it's clicked and changing a variable probably called number that's holding, or count, that's holding the current count. Okay, when we get to race, this is when you can consider this bonus area. This is not a traditional, it's not as common as clicking or typing, right? So here I'm pressing the right key and my race car is moving. So this is your first bonus. And then stopwatch is really your super bonus. Very interesting challenge. Combines the last 2 days. I mean, combines actually everything we've done up to this point. We click start and our stopwatch starts, and we click stop and it stops, and we can clear. I'm glad that all worked because I forgot to check this to make sure it's still good since last cohort. So yeah, that's your super bonus. Pretty difficult, honestly. Any questions on today's assignment?
Is that car going off the border?
Yeah, I think so.
Stay in a container? Okay.
It's doing some weird stuff, yeah. Yeah, some bizarre things are happening. I did not do any careful, whatever, error checking, boundary checking. Other questions? We're going to build out all this or we're going to build two complex things.
The stopwatch, if you press start and then stop and then start again, does it just continue?
Start, stop, stop, start. Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But that's up to you, how you want to program that. Or I guess you should copy what I did as much as you can.
If you start it and then hit clear, does it keep going or does it stop as well?
Start, clear. Ooh, keeps going. So that's something that could probably be improved. I think we actually talked about this last cohort. But yeah, or maybe you want that functionality. I don't really know. If you're doing laps or something, I don't know. I guess I would put this in the bucket of specs rather than a bug. Other questions? All right, let's start building something out interesting that will mirror what you have to do today, right? So that's not the code we need. Let's go to lecture. Let's just get an empty HTML file and let's run this. Uh-oh, my computer's lagging today. It better be a rarity. I just bought a new computer. All right, what do we want to do today, right? I said greeting. So let's pull up Excalidraw and build what I want this to look like. So here's our little website. Or today we actually can start calling these web applications, right? Because that's what they're going to be. So here, what is your name? And then I want an input box for somebody to put in their name. So here we have ZO2. And then I want a little box that says submit. And I want to change the color of this box to be blue. And then down here, I want to say, hi, ZO2. And that is our whole application. So that we can build this out and reference it very easily, I'm going to take a snipping of it and make it an image. And did that not work? Where is it? Oops. Oh, is it here? Oh, here it is. Sorry. So save this. I'm going to save it in, what are we doing? Lecture. I'm going to save this as, I don't know, greeting. And then in the HTML, I want to show this as an image, this greeting. So I'm going to do an image tag and source. I'm going to point to greeting.png just so we don't have to flip back and forth. But I also want this to be at the bottom so it doesn't get in our way. And I probably want it to be smaller. So I don't know if we've shown this before. But has anyone played with position before? And if so, how can I get this to always be fixed at the bottom, my image?
If you put it at 0, I think it should be at the bottom.
Yeah, so first we have to do position fixed. And then we can do bottom 0. Yeah. And then I'm just going to do a width of, I don't know, 50%. Is that too small or you guys can see it? Still good? Yeah, okay. Okay, so pretend this doesn't exist. This is just for us to remember what we're trying to build, right? I like having it right on the screen instead of flipping back and forth because we forget, or I do, so quickly, right? So today we are allowed to use HTML. It's encouraged. We're using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. We're building real web applications. So no gimmicks anymore, like yesterday. So first objective, what is your name? How do I get that to appear on the screen? Semsi.
You could use an H1 heading, but I'm thinking this is going to be an input, right?
Not yet.
Or no, okay.
Next.
Yeah, then just an H1 heading is cool.
Very nice. And now comes the part you were talking about. So, Lin J, how can I get a box where the user can type in some input? Is there an HTML element for that?
Is it the form?
It is going to be the form, but more specifically, there's another element to just get the box to appear with where the user can type.
The input?
Very nice. Input, yeah. So just by doing, why is this ugly? Oh, why is that ugly? You see that? How the line has disappeared? I don't know. Maybe that'll go away. Anyway, just by doing the input element, we have a place where a user can type in whatever you want. In this case, a name, right? Okay, ZO2, how do we get this button to appear? With
a button tag.
Very nice. How do I get it to match the styling here?
You're going to put a border with a border radius, like 2 pixels black.
Yeah.
Black
So
border.
first we have to do what though? How do we style this button?
You're going to add either a class or a ID, depending on if you want it to be a repeatable. Well, for this purpose, an ID, I guess.
Mm-hmm. What's a good name for the ID?
Submit.
I like it. And how do we target this button?
Up the thought in CSS. Oh yeah, you could have done that. Cool. And then submit hyphen button, and then curly brackets.
Braces.
Border. Braces rather. Border.
Well, I actually think we already have a border, so we can leave off that.
Okay. Then background color.
Yeah, we do want a background color of light blue.
Light blue.
How do we get it to say the word submit?
You want to add a P tag?
We could, but we don't have to. We can be lazier.
You just write it.
Yeah, we can just throw it in there. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Cool.
God, that is bizarre. That missing line. Maybe it has something to do with this. If I change the width. So I fixed one. Oh, I want to set it to the left. Width. Okay. It still didn't fix it. Anyway. Okay, very nice. Now, when I click submit, I want high ZO2 to appear. That's going to be our big objective. To get there, though, our small objective, when I click submit, I want to console.log trying to submit, or the word submit. When I click submit, I want to console.log the word submit. This is a hard one, so open to the class. What are some of the steps?
Let me figure out, and hopefully.
Could we do an
update you by the
on-click
end of the day.
function or event listeners?
Yeah, so we want to attach.
Get the checkout too.
Oh,
Right?
Farhan, can you mute? Can you? Yeah. So we want to attach an event listener. Let me write this in our JavaScript. We want to attach an event listener to the button element so that it will listen to a click. So that's step one. How do we attach an event listener to the submit button?
So since you already made an ID, so you would put the ID.add event listener and then click?
Very close. First, we have to find the element with query selector. So any ideas there, Lin J, how we can find that element, save it in a variable with query selector?
So when we did it, we had to select a div. So do we have to select the body that we're doing or just the button?
Just the button, yeah. The button is a real element, so we can target any element.
So then we would put like the submit dash button.
Close. That will be what we put in the query selector, but there's some more formatting we need to do. Mohammed, any ideas? How can we... So I want to save the button in a variable called button. How can I do that using query selector? This is kind of like yesterday's work.
The document?
Yeah, exactly. Document. Yeah. Anything else while I take a sip?
Document.create element.
Create element is for what? Create element is for creating an element. But do we already have the element?
Query selector.
Yeah, there we go. So document.query selector, and the argument is going to be what, Mohammed?
It's gonna be the ID of the elements.
That's exactly right. But what do I actually write?
Submit button.
So close. What are you forgetting? So remember, the beauty of query selector and why I insist you use it is that it exactly matches CSS. So how did you target it in CSS?
Right.
Yeah, ID.
We need the octothorpe. Yep. And we can do a sanity check in console.log button. That's all good. We found our button, right? Okay, so now how do we attach the event listener? Ritu? How can we attach an event listener to an element we found?
So you would do button dot add event listener and then parentheses and then either click or submit.
Yeah, so the event type we want is click is the first argument.
And then the second argument would be the function that we haven't created yet.
Exactly. The second argument is a function. And we can do an anonymous one right here if we want, or we could abstract it out. And right now I just wanted to say submitting, right? That was our objective. So let's see if it works, right? Type in some stuff, click submit, and we see the word submitting. So what questions do you have on using add event listener? This is going to be a major method for us this week.
We're always going to do it based off having an HTML from here on in, right? We don't
We're always going to do what?
do it from the HTML, like using the query selector from here on in.
Yeah, this is JavaScript though.
Yeah, I realized that. I just wanted to check.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, we said the word submit, but we want to do more than just submit when we click submit. I want to console.log. This is my sub-objective to get to our real objective. I want to console.log ZO2 if I type in ZO2. So how can I actually see the value of what I'm typing in here when I click submit? Any ideas, Vanessa?
None for now. Still processing.
Yeah, this is actually pretty challenging. So I'll open it up to the class. Any ideas here?
Can we?
It's like get element by ID, maybe?
Oh, no, I never want you to use get element by ID.
You want to target the input box, the value in that input
Yes.
box.
So first we have to find the input box and save it in a variable. So that's step one. You know what step two is? So the browser and the input box automatically saves the user's input for us behind the scenes. And we can and we can access it with dot value. Okay, so let's do our first objective. How can I find the input box and save it in a variable? Pimpa.
I have no idea.
Okay, fair enough. Katrin.
You said find the input box, right? So you can do document dot select selector, and our input box is the input. So can you do yes?
Yeah, we can just use an element selector because there's only one right now. What's a good name to store this in a variable?
Let's input box.
Okay. And let's console.log input box. See if it works. So we click submit. Well, I'm going to put a value. We click submit and we see this little element. But now I said that the browser and the input box store the value that the user types in automatically. So I want to console.log the value. So what property exists on this input box that I can access the value, do we think? Ellery? Which property looks promising?
Value.
Yeah, let's try value. Okay, so I type in Ellery, click submit, and now I see the value that the user had typed in. Let me move this code up so you can see it. All right, what questions, another very important piece for today. So what questions are there on this logic?
So, doing those exercises for this dumb stuff, they have it with return. Is that just another way of doing it instead of what you just did?
Return. So I don't know what their specific use case was, but we can do whatever we want with this value. And sometimes you will need to return it from a function or do different things because your specs might be different. But in our case, well, we're going to see. Well, let me turn it to you. What do you think we want to do with this value now if this is our objective, final objective?
I guess print it to the screen, right?
Yeah, but how do we print things to the screen? We know how to print things to the console, but how do we add something to the screen?
Probably return it to an HTML element.
Not really return, but we want to append to some HTML element. Do we have a good one right now that we can add this? Or you know what? We should not append, but change the text content of an existing HTML element to be the new value, to be the value the user typed in. So today I said use all the HTML you want if it makes your life easier. So is there an element we can add here to eventually display what we want to?
A p tag probably.
Yeah, we can just put an empty p tag to save later. And now, how can we find the p tag, change its value of its text content so we can see hi ZO2 or whoever we typed in? I guess first off, how can we find that p tag and save it in a variable? Medi? How can we find the p tag and save it in a variable?
I actually don't know.
Okay. Sadiq?
Document.querySelector. P.
Yeah, we'll assume we just have one. But in a real app, you would give this an ID. What's a good variable name?
Greet.
One more time?
Greet.
Greet.
GRWT.
Okay. Now, so if we run this and put David and click submit, I see David in my console. That's fine, but that's not my objective. I want to see hi, David. So I think we're getting close to the finish line on this, but how can we see hi, David? David.
We need to change. Okay.
Sadiq, David. Yeah.
Okay. So you want to change the inner text of greet. So you would do greet dot text content.
Yeah, let's use text content. Yep.
Equal to The value, let's see, this would be,
So as a reminder, input box.value is what you're seeing in the console right now.
okay, so just input box.value then.
Except, why is that an incomplete answer? Maureen. We see the name Maureen, but what don't we see?
We need to.
Yeah, Maureen, if you're there. But then we can come back to David if. Is your mic working today?
We don't see the hi.
Hi.
Hi, Maureen.
So yeah, we want to see hi Maureen. So how can we change this value to see hi Maureen?
I'm not so sure.
Okay, let's circle back to David. Give him another swing.
Yeah, so you use the I would do the backticks.
Yeah, I love backticks when we can use them.
Yeah, and then in the front just do hi, comma, and then $sign.
We don't call them that in this class. What do we call them?
Cash money curlies.
Cash money curlies. Yep.
Oh, cash. Cash money curlies.
And then exclamation.
And then the exclamation mark.
Yeah.
And that's it.
And then I think we're done with this real website, right? So this is an actual web application. We have some user input, some interaction. Yeah, things are dynamic. This is a lot of fundamentals right here, amazingly. We're going to move on to something way more difficult, but yeah, questions on this. We can spend a little bit of time if you guys have questions.
Do we need the exclamation point every time after the $sign thing?
No, this is just because of our specs. Yeah, we just we don't need the exclamation for any reason. Yeah.
What would an argument return if we had an argument within the anonymous function?
Well, it's the browser that's eventually calling this function. We're just defining it for the browser. So where it would be returned, I have no idea. I don't know if we ever have access to, like if we do a return here, test, I don't know that we ever see that value anywhere or it ever becomes relevant off the top of my head. But there always is some reason somewhere some user is doing or some developer is doing that, right? But I haven't had a use case yet that I can think of.
No, what I mean is like on line 5, when you have a function, it's an anonymous function, and the parameter is empty. What if you did have a parameter? What would it usually represent in this case? Is it something?
Oh, I think this usually isn't this? Console.log, or I don't know what this is actually.
I guess you will get the point event plus the pointer event plus.
Let's see what it is. Oh yeah, very nice. Yeah, so pointer event. So this is the event. Oh yeah. Sorry, I have used it. We will eventually use this a whole bunch. Sorry. When an event occurs, right? We ask the browser to listen for an event. In this case, a click. When it occurs, it records so much information about the click. Where on the screen the clicked? How hard did the user click? I don't know about that one, but all these different properties about the click itself. And the one we really care about is the the target. So we're actually, this is so silly that I didn't got caught off guard with this question, because we are going to use this event property in the next example in lecture. So the important one we care about is the target. This is the event. This is the element that caused the firing of the event. So in this case, what element is the element that caused the event to be fired?
The submit button?
Yeah, the button. And you can see it right here, button submit. Yeah. Yeah, good question. Sorry I got confused on that one for a second. But we are going to go over this in the next example. Okay. So let's switch to the next example. I'll save this untouched. And what do I want to do? I want to copy and paste this. And I'll call this one pixel art, because that's what we're doing. And I'll open this up. And I'll delete everything. So we can start fresh. And then I will draw on ExcaliDraw what we want to build. So what do we want to build? We don't want any of this. And what we do want is, I'm going to grab a box emoji. You'll see why in a second. So I'm going to copy this little emoji a bunch of times. Oops. So what I want is, this is how I want my web application to look. Whole bunch of little empty boxes. And when the user clicks on one, it turns the color of the box blue. So they can keep clicking boxes and it turns it blue. Right? So I'll make another image of this so we can have a reference. This is a little simpler, but it still doesn't hurt, right? So I copied that. I'll save this in our code, pixel art. I don't want to call this greeting. I don't know. Demo. Okay, let's run this with live server. Let's open up the inspector. And let's get the image going so we know what we want to build. So that's going to be demo.png. And then I just showed you guys before, so now I'll challenge you, right, to use the position. So how can I style this to get it all the way at the bottom and all the way at the bottom left and smaller? Victor, how can I get this image to be kind of pinned to the bottom and smaller using styling?
You type in style, positioning, fixed, and then bottom 0, I believe.
Very nice. Yeah. And then smaller?
I believe the width 50%, maybe.
Yeah. All right. Very nice. So we have a little reference of what we're trying to build. Okay. Now, I encourage you guys to first use HTML if you can. So why can or can't we use HTML here? Zubida? So if our goal is to get all these, 300 boxes or something? Or maybe not that many. I don't know. 100? Can I do this with HTML? Make 100 boxes? Muted. Yeah, your mic. Still muted. You try again?
I think so.
Okay, you're technically right, but what would we need to do?
Do we need to target the body since there are many?
Oh, no. My question is, can we just use HTML to make these boxes? Or no?
No.
Yeah, technically we could. It would just require so much work, right? We'd have to type div 100 times. So what we're going to do instead is use JavaScript, right? So how do we make 100 little boxes? We actually got practice on this yesterday, right? How can I make 100 boxes? Monica, what do you think?
Well, first we need to create an element, like a div element to store all the boxes in.
Yeah, that's a good idea, actually. What's a good name for it?
Box container.
Mm-hmm.
And then we need to target the element in the index.js file.
Yes. How can I do that, Monica?
So const box container. Was it document.query selector?
Mm-hmm. What's a good argument?
Would it be the hash box container?
Yes. Yeah. And we can console.log that, but I think we're good. Yep. We have our little element that eventually will contain all our boxes. So now how do we fill that box container with 100 boxes? Daniel?
You could do a for loop.
Sure.
So for let I equals 0, I is less than 100, I plus plus. And you can make a new element like call like let box equal div. I think you could do. I'm sorry, let box equal sorry, I'm blanking here. Create a document.create element, I think. Make a div. And we might have to give this a class. That way we could target it with CSS. So you could probably put box.class equal box in quotation marks. Yeah, class name.
Right.
And then you append this to the box container. So each box you're gonna do box container dot append child box.
Yeah, very nice. And let's pause there. Yeah. Let's pause there and see what this looks like. So we don't see anything on the screen, but not to worry. We check out our DOM. We see we have a div box container, and we have 100 little boxes that are yet to be styled. So each of these boxes says class box. So with that knowledge, how can we style these boxes to make them try to match our example here? Izzy? How can we give some style to these boxes in an eventual goal to match these little boxes?
So you use dot box and then the brackets, and then we could give it a border. I don't know, 1 pixel solid. Yep.
Yeah, very nice. What else can we do?
Would we do Flexbox with the container?
Yeah, beautiful idea there. So how can I do that?
So do hash or octothorpe, box container, and then display flex, And then we could wrap it. So something wrap with flex.
Yeah, display. Oh, sorry. Flex wrap. But that's actually not why they look gross, our boxes. What's going on? Why do our boxes look weird?
I don't know.
Okay. Farhan, why do our boxes look?
It's missing a gap.
More than that. Yeah.
There's no height and width.
Yeah,
either.
there we go. So let's give them a height and a width. Ah, way better, right? Now we can give them a gap. Okay, that looks pretty good. What do we need way more of, and how do we do it, Calypso?
You need way more boxes, or that's gonna be a real small pixel art.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would just add a 0 onto that maybe and see how that looks. 1,000.
Okay,
Maybe
that's actually kind of
too
good,
many.
but I don't want it conflicting with the picture, so.
Yeah, so maybe like 500.
Yeah.
Like half that.
Yeah. Yep. So we get the idea, right? We'd fill this up in a real app, but we're just whatever. Great. We're off to a good start. So when I click a box, I want to fill it up with blue. Oh, Monica, you have a hot mic, or if you had a question. Yeah. So that's our objective, but our sub-objective, an easier objective, when I click a box, I want to see the word clicked in the console. When I click a box, I want to see the word clicked in the console. What do we think about that? Calypso?
You can add an event listener
to
box.
And the first argument?
Click.
And the second argument is what data type?
A function.
A function. We're going to make a little anonymous one. And here we'll just say clicked.
Yeah.
So now I click, I go to my console, and I clicked. Very nice. I think our final objective, we made kind of good time. I want to fill in the box with blue. This is actually a little difficult. This requires a few steps. But any ideas here, Sempsey? What we could start to think about doing?
I believe I could target the boxes. But
Yeah.
maybe it's not the first step.
So remember when I didn't remember what goes in here? And it turns out what goes in here, right? The event that caused the firing of the event. The event that occurred, which is the user's clicking. And one of the most important properties for our purposes on this event is which element caused the event to occur. So how do we access that element that caused the event to occur? Sempsey.
So it's going to be one of these, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, target.
Target, yeah. So event.target is the thing that caused the firing. So here they're all little boxes. But now that we have access to the element, we can change its what to make it seem filled in. So basically...
Oh, the value?
Yeah, so now we can just say event.target. Not value, no. But this is an HTML element, so we can change its what?
Style.
Style, yeah. And what we want to change is its background color.
Background color.
Yeah, whoops. To light blue. Let's see if that worked, right? And there it is. We had pixel art. So should we make a smiley face? It's a creepy smiley face, but there you go.
Can you click them again and turn it back to white?
No, we cannot, but we certainly can do that for a bonus challenge. So let's brainstorm, right? How can clicking it again?
Can you make it a regular blue just because it's kind of hard to see?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, absolutely. Better?
Yeah, thank you.
We can also make these bigger.
That's fine. Just
okay.
The light blue was kind of hard to.
Okay, so clicking them again, we want to, if already blue, we want to turn back white. This is actually not that much code, I don't think. Opens the class. It's our super bonus.
Use an if-else loop, probably.
Yeah, if-else statement. It's not a loop, but yeah.
Oh, sorry,
so, what were you thinking for the if?
If event.target whatever equals blue, then it would be equal to white instead.
So event.target dot
style dot background color
triple equal to blue,
and then
we want to turn it white.
Yeah, and then
else
blue.
Yeah. Okay. Click a bunch, and I can turn them back. Very nice. Very good question. Questions on that? I think we're done. That's everything I wanted to cover. That went weirdly quick, though. So if there's questions, let me know.
I have a question about this if statement.
Sure.
Would you have to set it to blue outside of the if statement and then go into the if statement and have everything that's already there?
Well, no, this will just be false on the first iteration. Or wait, sorry, repeat the question.
Well, I guess what I'm thinking is like, wouldn't you have to have sort of the event.target.style.background color set outside of the if statement so it turns blue first, and then have the if statement that says like if it's blue then you can turn it white, else turn it blue?
Well, by default this is just white, right?
Okay, I get it.
Yeah, we can check that out, but I think it's just, oh no, by default it's an empty string. Yeah, which is interesting, but
so yeah. Okay, so it's because it's false. Because it's never going to be blue when you start the if statement. So you're always
correct. Okay. It's always going to do the else, which is what we want. Because when we first click it, it's never blue. Unless it was, but then it would turn white. There's certainly an app where we could have, oh, here, we can do this right now. Well, let me turn it to Izzy. How can I make all these squares blue? Let's say that was my spec, to have 1,000 blue squares. Yeah, how can I make them all blue, Izzy?
In the CSS? Oh, you just
yeah, that's the easiest.
Color, well, font color?
Nope. Close though.
Background color?
There you go. Yeah.
Okay. Blue.
Yeah. And now will it turn white, right? What do you think?
Yes.
I think so too. I don't know if it did. No. Ooh, why is it not?
It's, for me, it's clear. It just shows a little white box where you clicked in that first.
No, but I'm sorry. I'm not explaining it well. I'm having to click twice. So we can see it though. The first, it's still, that's weird. It's an empty string at first. So this is an empty string, even though the background color is blue. I don't know.
I guess, is that the same reason where we have the DOM and there's a disconnect with the HTML? It could be the same thing.
But the DOM initially should be copying what the HTML and CSS dictate. But that...
Is there a prevent default issue maybe then? I'm not sure anymore.
I don't think so. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, so I guess because the DOM is just pointing to this class and the class is dictating the background color. I don't know, actually. Yeah, I might have to think about it offline and try to think of something, but nothing comes to mind why this disconnect. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure. Does anyone have any ideas? So initially, even though the background color is blue for the class, but it shouldn't matter, right? Verse.
What happens if you switch the if condition? I mean, I guess you start off back to where we look back to square one. Like
the real problem is here that this is an empty string. So the style background color of this element is an empty string initially, even though we have it set as blue via the class. I honestly don't know why that disconnect is happening, so I'll have to think about it offline.
Is this a defer issue?
I don't think so. And we have defer anyway, right? Yeah.
If you style it outside of that like force statement, would that work?
Yes, no. I think that would work. So in other words, if
outside of the event listener, so you make the box and then style it outside of it.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're I see what you're saying.
Now,
so if we do here box.style dot background color blue, I bet this will work.
Waiting for it.
Yeah. Yeah, now on the first click that works. But I still don't see why it shouldn't work the other way as well. But I can't think of a reason. Yes, Sadiq?
Basically because there is something called as CSS SOM. CSS SOM takes precedence over DOM. Whatever you have defined in the CSS, it will take precedence over the manipulation in the DOM you're doing.
But the CSS isn't being taken precedence. It's almost like it's not being read into the DOM. For this, yeah. Maybe there's something I'm not seeing. Anyway, I'll try to get an answer for you during code review. Okay. Any other questions? Final questions? Okay, let's get you into breakout rooms.